Okay, welcome everybody. We got a little bit of a time delay between the streams, so especially with YouTube, it tends to be maybe 10 to 20 seconds behind. But yeah, welcome to 2025. Happy Lunar New Year as of yesterday, and happy normal New Year. And
By the
today
way,
happens
Twitch doesn't look like it's
got a
working.
little bit of a time delay between the streams, so for me, Twitch is working actually, at least for the time being. You might want to hit refresh.
It said streaming for a second, then it went offline again.
Yeah, mine's
For
running.
me,
If you click it and
yeah,
refresh, but
yeah,
otherwise try the YouTube link.
yep, I will.
And if someone wants to just throw the Twitch, well, I can do it. Twitch.
Is Twitch working for anyone else here?
No, not for me.
Not for me either.
I might be the only one.
I stopped using it months ago because YouTube's more reliable streaming.
YouTube is better sound quality in my opinion, typically, but I do like to have both, just in case, the more redundancy, the better, right? I do have ability to stream to a few other platforms. I'm still thinking of which ones to go with, but yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention is that today is our 10-year anniversary. So our first Toronto electronic music producers meetup was way back in January 2015. Seems like only yesterday. And that was back when we were in the pre-COVID days, in person, live and direct. And since COVID, we've kind of spread out, membership has, and so we stayed virtual. So it seems to be working. Some of you were at the live event we had back in November. So that's another thing that I'm thinking is a good idea for people who are local in Toronto who want to socialize. We intend to have live events where we'll have live performances, and don't yet have details on the next one, but the last one in November was a lot of fun. And like I say, I think that's a good way to make use of the in-person type of events where it's suited well to like performances and whereas this is more discussion, as all of you know, basically. It's good to see some of returning names that we haven't seen in a while. Welcome back. And basically, the format, as we all know, is to submit originally produced electronic music, including video in many cases. And we put everyone's submission into a random name selector. We spin the wheel, and then whoever's name comes up, we go ahead and listen to and or watch the content. And then we go back into the Zoom here and have a discussion. So yeah, we do the music playback and video playback on YouTube. Twitch typically seems to be not working for anyone except for me, but basically you could always try the YouTube. So if you need the link, it's in the chat here in Zoom. And yeah, so once again,
the Twitch is just saying offline, but the odd thing, like Jeff said, for a few seconds there, it came online when you first turned it on.
it's literally working for me. I know that I've said that now like 5 times, but I don't know. It's could be that I'm special. That's what I've been trying.
Running, so there you go.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
running Twitch or running the stream. So
I'm waiting for a special designation for the government that says I'm special,
yeah.
I don't have to pay taxes. I don't have to, follow the law. I can join the elites. But anyway,
Earn $1 billion and you're in.
yeah, is that it? Jeez, man, then I'm okay. I thought it was more like 10 billion, but oh well.
Yeah. Well, maybe it is 10 billion.
Either that or you have to like become friends with someone like that, I guess, which means I'm in trouble. But just kidding. So yeah, it's good to see everyone here again. Looking forward to hearing all the new tunes. We typically in January tend to have a lot of increase in participation. I don't know if it's the winter months, if it's New Year's resolutions, but for whatever reason, it's a good thing. And hopefully we keep the momentum up. And so, yeah, Brian, I did see your notes. So, yeah, no problem. I can switch up your track. I did have your metadata all ready to go, so I'll just clear that out, but that's all good. So yeah, let's I think I have everyone's name. I may have more names than actual people who've sent in music, but let's see what we got here. Choose the right screen, just bear with me a second. Alrighty. Okay, so we got Richard, Brian H. I just had this bar hide my screen here. Okay, sorry. Paul. Yeah, Paul, you sent in a really long video, but I'm willing to watch it all if everyone else is good with it. So he did a live performance at a local meetup in Toronto recently. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's like 17 minutes.
Yeah, so it's the song I did last month, like an extended version of it, plus two other patterns. What I'm gonna say though, like if I come up like right away, let's cycle through, just make sure a lot of people get their time. But yeah, I'd love to play it for you and kind of explain a bit about the equipment and whatnot. So.
So if there's anyone who's in the opposition to it, speak now. Otherwise, I'm just kidding. No, we'll watch it, man. I'm sure it'll be great.
Cheers.
We got my name there. Andrew, I spelled wrong. Peter, man, I don't have the other Peter. Okay. Gokai, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Jeff, Quantz, Phil, and Jill. Anyone I'm missing? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and press the button. And it is Brian. Brian from Chicago. Are you still out in Chicago, Brian?
I still do. So, hey, nice to be back. Good to see you guys again.
Good to
This
see you,
track
Brian.
is one of 52 I did for Weekly Beats last year that I'm slowly revisiting and fixing up if I can. And I'm going to release it as a record later probably this summer. Not all 52. So I'm cutting through the chaff, which might be all of it, but we'll find out. So I'm just looking for any objective criticism and if you like the tune, if the mix is off, if there's anything that can be done to improve it. And right now, none of these really have names. They have kind of assignations to some of the techniques I was using last year, which is I did a lot of field recordings and I used a lot of different field recordings and noise and distortion in a lot of these tracks. So that's the reason for the name. I don't know if that'll come up online, but let it rip, man.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
That's an awesome track. Um, Even at the end, I even noticed it sounded like rain on a tin pail or something. Seemed like a field recording. It sounded amazing. But I wanted to ask, are those live instruments? It sounds like they are.
So it's live guitars, keyboards, and the drums are just played keyboard through a VST. So it's the VST is Spitfire's Build Labs thing, which used to be free, and a drum kit, which I had a lot of fun with.
That was beautiful. Really lovely. Great dynamics, but loud throughout. I can't. It was really fantastic.
Thanks. How is the bass on your system?
Do you know the only thing I would say? The bass is good. I would say that if you push the guitar forward a little bit more, I know it's almost like a rhythm guitar, like it's not really a lead, but the bass was heavy. It was heavy,
Yeah.
which is a style choice for sure. I think, but if we, I would keep the bass as heavy as it is and try to
As
push
a
the guitar forward a bit.
as a fellow bassist, though, like I could almost even get a touch more of the compressed low end, like that center in there. But it was very groovy, and like you said, nice heaviness, and yeah, it rocked. So you made 52 of these last year.
Yeah.
About
Wonder
how and how many do you think you're gonna revisit and bring back? Like you're gonna
I don't
make an
know.
album?
I don't know.
Another one?
I'm hoping there's maybe 12, 10 or 12.
Nice.
Um, and I had a lot of ideas just using noise and stuff in field recordings that I'm going to lift stuff out of it and use it elsewhere over the next year or so. Plus, I got a movie coming up that I think I'm going to be able to utilize a lot of this stuff.
So
Very
Brian,
cool.
you played the bass and the guitar?
Yeah.
Nice, very nicely done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love the combination of the live sound, but it's so well produced. The sound quality is good. I didn't have any issues with the bass on my end. It was great. Yeah.
On my end, it's like Peter, and I tried for maybe it's our systems, I'm not sure, but with my desktop speakers here, they're Yamaha's HS5s, and my headphones, it seemed like the bass was overpowering. I love the groove and all that, but like Peter, I think I was hearing the same thing as he was, but it could be our system.
Yeah. I'm sitting in basically a cubic room, and my seat is basically in a node. So it's really hard to compensate for that. I just have to go back and forth a lot. I don't know what else I can do at this point. I can't fight physics successfully.
Did you compress that at all, Brian? I don't know if you addressed that earlier. Like, was that just like
Compress
straight,
the bass?
like the whole, like, did you master the final recording, like kind of squeeze the
To the extent that
loudness?
to the extent I can master, which I can't. I mean, seriously. Yeah, it's mastered. It's finalized as much as I can, but
Right.
I'm at
I thought
again.
it sounded good, but it had a lot of I would say even like medium, it was kind of like a nice tonal quality. The mood was very good, dark,
Oh,
and
and
had a
another thing I was curious about is um, a lot of my mixes sometimes get a bit blown out sounding, if you know what I mean. So that especially during the louder parts, you can see I'm really hitting the limit of the waveform. So there's a limiter there's a brick wall at the very extreme limits on that recording that I'm trying not to hit, but I haven't really successfully gotten past it yet. But I don't know. On some systems, it does sound a little hashy, I guess is the word I might call it. It's just like it's when it's hitting the limiter too much, you definitely notice a kind of a mushing of everything together. I don't know if that came through tonight.
Limiters do that, and they affect the bass more than the middle and the high. So, like, I just read the article the other day that addresses that very issue. Strangely enough,
Yeah.
limiter. Be careful with limiters. When it comes to the cleanness of the bass, the
Yeah.
first victim of them.
I try to use a very, very light touch on that, but you know, you do what you can.
Yeah, great use of field recordings and definitely gives it the unique flavor on top of the instrumentation. So very much, I would consider that like a rock tune, basically, or kind of instrumental.
Yeah, I would agree. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Okay, Phil,
Yeah, I think
sent
at least
something
one.
in.
Yeah, I think at least one person's heard this before, but yeah, a track I wrote January 3rd um, in Reason. Used a variety of VSTs, Biotech from Traction, Atoms from Baby Audio, Dream Synth from Cherry Audio, Myth from Dawson, and VPS Avenger, plus some UJM drums at the end, and decided to do a video
UJam,
for.
my favorite.
Yeah,
Which one, if you
uh,
don't mind me asking? They got a whole
it
bunch.
was the hip hop drums.
Okay,
Yeah, it was actually
solid, I think.
the rack extension.
Oh,
Yeah, that goes right in Reason. Um, so you're not hearing me very well.
Could be
So.
louder.
Okay. Not sure what's
could
going
just be
on.
the mic.
Uh,
Happens to me a lot of times. People say I'm quiet, and I adjust the mic, and then it magically gets louder. Go
I'm
figure.
using this
Ah,
speaker mic thing, which
see.
does pretty good for compensating. But anyway,
It sounds clear. It's just like the level is a little bit down.
okay,
Yeah.
not sure why. Anyway, yeah, so I decided to do a video for this one as well, and so I used Comfy UI and Flux to generate some still images. And the theme of the song is it's called "Will You Come Will You Come to Me?" or "When Will You Come to Me?" And I'm going through a long distance relationship right now, so there's that longing to be next to that person. So did a video using Flux and then animated with Minimax. So hope you enjoy it.
Right, let's give it a watch.
Thank you.
Well
Yeah,
done.
it's kind of interesting what you get sometimes. You see that final video and it took like hours of prompting and rendering out images and picking the best ones and then running them through Halo Minimax and getting a bunch of shit animations and then a bunch of really good ones. So, and then you compile them all together and try to tell a story and match it to music. So yeah, it was quite an effort. But the video production, I think, the from the writing of the track and finishing that up to the finished video was about a week. Um, and that's not my day job, so
Mhm.
it's takes a lot of grit to do it, even though AI is doing a lot of the imagery. But
I mean, epic string stirring pads to usual from Despondo, but was it Omnisphere or were you using any new instruments or?
well, I listed it off. I was using Biotech. That was kind of the windy stuff at the beginning.
Okay.
They released a new version, Biotech 3, that's from Traction. And then Adams was doing some of the kind of ethereal stuff. Dream Synth was doing, I think, the arpeggiator. Uh, Myth was adding some of the strings, and VPS Avenger, I mean, that's a great all around synth. It was doing a lot of the stuff towards the middle and end, the pads,
Nice.
and the kind of the pluck sound. So yeah, I mean, I tried to spread it out a little bit this time instead of just doing Omnisphere. But yeah.
A
I mean,
great love note there, Phil. That's
very balanced. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I loved how you use the higher end ARP and the low end, synths, and I really love the mix. I mean, you always do a great job in mixing. So once
Thank
again,
goodness to Omnisphere too, or not Omnisphere, Ozone from final mastering. Haven't listened to the track. Suggestion? Yeah, it's good to me. Go. That's the extent of my mastering these days. It's like Omnisphere or
So you're saying you didn't
Ozone.
master that yet,
I mastered it, but I just
but
used
you
Ozone.
didn't throw it through Ozone, you mean?
I threw it through Ozone, and
Oh,
I
you
just
did.
had, yeah, I had, I picked my lattice section like it suggests, and I looped that, and I just said, okay, analyze it and give me what you want, or what you think it should be, and that's what I stuck with. I don't
Oh,
really
okay,
keep.
good. Yeah, because it sounds great. I couldn't imagine what else you could do, frankly.
What version are you using?
I'm sorry?
What version?
Latest one, 11.
11. Okay.
Yeah,
the
Great
pro
track.
version.
Great
yeah.
sound. Do you have that on your YouTube so we can watch the video in a little better resolution?
It's
I think
Vimeo, right?
it's on Vimeo. It's much better than YouTube actually. I'll put the link.
Throw the link here in the chat, maybe.
You know what? Maybe I will add a Vimeo channel,
I
actually.
don't think you can
Here.
stream it
You can't
on
stream to
Vimeo.
Vimeo?
No,
Oh,
I
shoot.
don't think so.
Okay.
No, it's playback only, but
Let's see.
here sent items.
I don't know. I'm going to investigate if there's any more if anyone knows of any high definition streaming. Um, I guess Twitter X, you have to pay for it, but you never know. It might be better quality.
Twitter is horrible at streaming.
Yeah, I just
Twitter?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Theater.
jumped over
it's
to
probably the worst.
I thought Elon wants it working perfectly for Mars, man. I would have expected perfection, but oh well. Okay.
yeah, I switched over to Vimeo a while ago when I felt YouTube was not so good. But YouTube I think is getting better. But yeah, I kind of exclusively have been using Vimeo for years just
I
because it's
think if you get enough followers, like the resolution goes up in YouTube. I don't know. I could be wrong. There's some weird. It's like I don't know, an
Mhm.
A, s-
incentive, I suppose.
a small suggestion, Phil, from a storytelling point of view. Um, yeah, at the end, you have the two hearts that start to float away, but there's also a third clip. I would, because it's a love affair between two people, I would just stick to the two hearts floating away one after the other, unless there's
Yeah, I was thinking about
a
switching.
third, unless there's a
Well,
third in there.
I was gonna switch those two scenes around, but yeah, like I said, it was done
Yeah, I
midnight
understand.
hour.
I
But
understand.
yeah,
Yeah.
YouTube Premium. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I don't pay
So
for anything if I can
they
avoid.
always got some
Save
kind
that
of
Right?
money for plugins.
There's
Save
always
it for
something.
plugins.
yeah, like I heard you still get ads even if you have YouTube Premium. Is this the true story?
You don't get ads, but you get like creator sponsored content and like their own ads that they make. But you can just install a Chrome app to get rid of those and then
Mhm.
Okay, okay.
gravy. But no,
And is
I
that different from YouTube Music? I mean, you would think I know this stuff, but I really don't.
it's the video, it's just YouTube video
Period.
without ads.
Oh, really? Eh? Wow.
But what I love about YouTube is you can blend it together. So you can use YouTube Music and have like a 50-minute live set in your playlist, or like, like a one-off, like unique thing that you can't actually get on other services.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Good to know. But yeah, awesome stuff, Phil. I've always said you have such a vast and rich atmospheric sound in general, very cinematic. It's
Mhm.
very full. I was trying to think of adjectives to describe it, but those
Mhm.
are some of them.
Yeah, thanks.
It's good stuff. Awesome stuff. And yeah, and I saw the high definition on my playback computer, so I can vouch for how good it looks on Vimeo. It looks super sharp, so it's worth checking out.
Yeah, I mean the video itself is only 720p because rendering out at
Stream
with AI
smooth.
is only limited to that right now, but it's still decent, I guess.
Nice, nice. All right. Well, thank you once again for sharing.
Thanks everybody for the comments and listening.
Okay. Shill,
Okay, so
welcome
this
back.
track is probably 80% done, so any input will be appreciated. It's mid-tempo, like around 80 beats per minute. Kind of a chill track. I don't want to give too much away because the element of surprise will be gone. And yeah, I just look forward to some input.
Great. Let's give it a listen.
Any input will be appreciated.
Well, sounds like 100% done to me. But yeah, really good job on like bringing everything in and kind of building that up and everything. Like Jeff said, the everything fits together really nicely. The mix is good. The use of stereo fields. So yeah, really good track.
Thanks.
Yeah, beautiful. Very beautiful, very clean, as someone mentioned, like super clean. I can't say enough good things about it. It's just one of those tracks you could just keep listening to.
Hmm.
It's
I liked a lot of. I mean, I thought it was fantastic. The dynamics were really there, but it maintained a presence. It never uh, snuck out of the way so much that you forgot about it. It was still always right in the forefront. The only thing I would say is that I noticed that would be critical is that when you went to the higher volumes with the vocals, or there seemed to be a wave of volume, and it seemed like you were really pushing it. So right at the very last half a second where things got the loudest, they seemed like maybe they were a little bit too loud. There was a little bit of distortion there, and if you take it down a half a decibel, 1 decibel, it would make a difference. But that's really being picky.
Okay, no, thanks for the input. I'll try that. So just on each vocals, wherever it swells, just drop it down a bit.
I think that's just what your limiter's for, right? Like just like that very top peak. I get what you're
Yeah.
saying, but I also want to compliment you. And you started off with a really loud part, and like that just kind of brought you right into it. And you kept that core sound and just kept adding layers to it. But like I must have made it probably easy to master too, because you started with your loudest part. Like that, I don't know. It was a very clear mix, man. I loved it.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be like if you play with the limiter on the vocal, maybe that would just do it like a down on it. I actually haven't noticed too much distortion, but maybe if I replay it, maybe I would pay attention. But yeah, I mean, uh, there's nothing that would just strike as like too disruptive, I don't think, but awesome stuff.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think I heard much distortion either. Great track, man. Um, very cinematic. Could see like that being used in a scene for a lot of different things. But great stuff. Liked it.
Thank you.
did you say where the vocals were from? I saw someone
I
ask
had
a
a sample
question.
pack somewhere from a long time ago, and I was just looking. I wanted to actually the vocals. I took the vocals. I played around with them just by themselves. I had nothing. That's how I started the track. I stretched them using Pollock stretch a few times. I pitched them to something that was a little better sounding to me. I chopped them a little bit, so there are parts where it's actually many phrases, but I just use different phrase here and there. Then I beat matched it to 80 beats per minute, and from there I just built the track. And I didn't want it to be all vocals. I just wanted the vocals to come in, tease a little bit, and come back out, and then having some instruments sort of respond to the vocals. That was my intention. And unlike other tracks that I've done before, where I do have a structure, chorus A B C A B, that sort of thing. On this one, I didn't. I just wanted um, more just a journey that just goes on and not really be tied to any structure whatsoever.
Yeah,
I think that's
excellent use of that sample.
yeah. I really like that approach, Gilles. The atmospheric kind of cinematic, the wave, but the voice just brought a sensuality to it that just really made a point and really it brought this to being a great piece. Really liked it.
Thanks. I will play around a little bit with the drums. I mean, I use a djembe and some tablas in there, but I will just vary it a little bit. Not much because part of the um, the appeal of this track is that the drums are very steady and they don't bring attention to them. It's just like a meter. Uh, However, I do still want to have just a little bit of variety. So I'll add that. But thanks everyone for your input. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. right. Peter M. How are you today?
Uh, I'm fantastic. How are you guys? How are you, Lenny? We won't ask everybody. We
You
don't
know
have time.
what? After the week I've had, I'm feeling pretty good right now, to be honest with you.
Good.
It's all about
Good.
context, But yeah, good to
Yeah,
see you
yeah.
back.
Thank you. So, I mean, this one is again, it's well, uh, it's my attempt at a big room sound. It's something I'd like to do for a while, sort of four on the floor, um, loud. The idea is that it's mixed loud. It doesn't have a lot of dynamic range, and it's pretty simplistic. I'm pretty humbled by what's come before me, but I'm hoping you guys enjoy it. Um, and yeah, give it a listen. It's not quite done, but I'm pretty happy with where it's at.
All right, let's give it a spin.
I'm a monster.
Raised roof. Awesome. No, man, I agree with the chat comments. It sounds loud, radio ready. Uh, if what the one thing I might suggest arrangement wise, and this might be my own taste, is I'm not really into the big room sound, but like it could use a longer breakdown or build up section, especially like maybe 2/3 through, where you have kind of the bass drum keep going, but you break down the rest of it. That would be something I would suggest. Just kind of thinking like, Prida, Dead Mouse, that kind of stuff. That's
Right.
what I know, but
Yeah.
no, otherwise, yeah, you achieved what you set out to do.
Nice. Yeah, thank you. I mean, to be honest, it's an A minor vocal with C major instrumentation. And I just, I tried to go to different chord progressions and none of them really resonated with me. So then I really worked hard at kind of changing, the sound, having movement in the bass and
Yeah.
everything else. But it's actually the same four chords, the whole thing. I'm sure most of
Mhm.
you noticed that. But
Mhm.
uh, Phil, or sorry, Paul, I aspire, and you're right. You put the nail in the coffin. I've got to make 16 bars open and put
Drop the
something in
bass,
there.
bring in a riser, that kind of shit. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Some
yeah, no, I
shakers or
totally
something.
agree. I was gonna say the exact, well, similar thing, not exact same. Like almost like a second drop or a third drop, depending on how you word it. Like the first one was really good, and then like I think a second one that may be a bit longer. But
Yeah.
other than that, it's a really well produced track. Like you got all the elements there. It's a lot of good energy. I thought it was
Thank you.
great.
Yeah, it's a great track. I mean, you've got all the elements, like everyone else said. So the hard work is done. Now you just pull back, like Paul said, just take some things off to let it breathe here and there. But at that point, I produce that way many times where I'll have 8 bars or 16 bars that are really full, and I know they're too full, and now I just take away to make the rest of the song. So you've done most of the hard work. Now it's just a matter of finessing it, and like Paul said, some horizons, some room to breathe, and I think you'll have a track that you'll be even more happy with.
Thank you. I think that honestly, that's great advice because you're right. I do find I fill everything up, and then yeah, it's difficult to edit to pull things away because you feel like everything contributes, but it doesn't necessarily. And,
No,
and also, yeah,
once you
sorry.
start pulling things away, you'll notice like, wow, yeah, I didn't need this. I didn't need this. Right? It's better without it, especially
Yeah.
before or after for for some variety. Mhm.
But it's also, I find, it can leave you bare because there's a lot of things that I get that sound good in the mix. But if you pull it out of the mix in that it's not mixed with much else, all of a sudden some of those vulnerabilities are apparent. So,
True.
um, but that's great advice. Thank you, both of you guys. Thank you.
I
Just
really
want to
liked it.
say,
Oh,
like, really bouncy, nice, dancey track. But I think it's always important to remember that it's dance music, so it's targeting DJs. So a little bit more for mix in and mix out to let DJs do their work, like because it kind of starts, and there is a concept of radio edit, the trimmed version, maybe that's one. But if you ever expect this to play in a club, you need to extend the beginning, mix in and mix out, so DJs can use it.
Yeah, like some kind of like a keyless intro and outro where we're not playing any kind of chords and
Mhm.
it's percussion and anybody can mix into anything. That's great advice. Thank you.
Those are needed if you want DJs to use it, right? Because nobody would hear it, but DJs will use that to do beat magic and all that other magic. So like about a minute at the beginning, about a minute at the end, depending on the genre. Some big room
Sure.
tends to do shorter ones because it's sliced. Nobody will play the entire track in this genre, like DJs will chop it. But still important to have all of those elements in the track. So
Yeah, thank you. Great advice.
I liked the party, Peter. It was really upbeat and it moved really well. It got me moving. You mentioned the vocal was a little loud, and I found that the vocal at the beginning, the more mid-range vocal, did seem to be a little bit loud to me, or it seemed to almost like buzz a little bit. I don't know what that was. So where a lot of the later vocals or the higher ranged vocals, I didn't get that at all. So
Do you know what? Yeah, I mean, thank you for bringing that up. That's like, first of all, this meeting really inspires me to get a lot done because I've done more in that track in the last 3 hours than I did in the last 3 weeks. But yeah, there's a male vocal and there's a female vocal, and I think they've pushed the male vocal up too much, and it's got a certain resonance to it that it's uneasy. And
it just sounded like it buzzed a little bit in my. I could you hear. I see Gilles nodding too. Where
yeah,
the I didn't get that with the female, but the male vocal at the beginning just, and it might have been just a little too loud or something. It might have been that much, right?
yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. If I turn him down, that'll be better. Maybe do some EQ. I haven't done any fine mixing with it, but you're right. I mean, honestly, that bothers me too. So the fact that you picked up on that, you're about 100 hours short of listening for me
Well,
compared to
I
me,
like
and I
it so
picked up on that.
much, and that's the one piece that would just like you
It's
know.
just kind of droning. I know what you mean. Yeah. Anyways, thank you so much, guys.
Great track, man. On my system, I wanted a little more kick though. I don't know if that's maybe just because I have acoustic problems, but a little more low end just to, to anchor that
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
Sure.
I was gonna talk about that too a little bit. I usually trust my ears, but I was looking at the meters too, and it was fairly flat instead of usually your bass is a little on the high side or should be a little higher than the mid range and treble, and
Huh.
yours was kind of flat. So I kind of agree with Brian that maybe there's some EQing to be done there.
Well, that's exciting news because
Maybe
I'm
drop
always turning
what
down
you're
the
saying.
bass.
Hmm.
And my bass is too high. And I think this time I really got into or rather than sub bass, I've got a really strong mid bass, which I'm learning how to do. And so
Hmm.
I think that kind of gives me that presence that strong mid bass is there. And so I've turned down the sub bass, which I love. I'm a bass head.
Hmm.
So I'll turn it right back up. Thank you.
Yeah, great stuff. Thank you for sharing, Peter.
My
And
pleasure. Thanks for
glad
listening,
to
guys.
know we can provide some inspiration. Always nice to hear.
Absolutely. Every month.
Andrew, how are you, sir?
I'm not bad, guys. Thanks, Lenny, for hosting again. Once again, happy anniversary, I guess.
Yeah, thank you, and you're very welcome.
Cool, cool. This track I sent out is something that is probably about a year old, and just thought I'd post it to SoundCloud and have you guys take a listen to it. Yeah, Lenny, if you want to just give it a whirl. I'm having audio lag and audio quality issues on the YouTube link, but I'm still with you guys, so it's a little bit of a challenge for me to bounce back and forth between the apps on my phone at the moment. But I'm managing. I'm managing.
All right, all right,
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know, Lenny, if you want to give it a whirl. Thank you.
all right, all right. Let's give it a listen. fresh.
Yeah,
I really
thank you.
like that piece. Really like that piece. You did a good job with that one. I love the instrument selection, the arrangement, the whole stereo field, the use of the percussive elements, even if some of them are kind of like dry, and then there's some that are more wet. It's kind of a good play off of each other. Yeah, good job.
Thank you. I personally thought that maybe it was a little too much all at once in some parts. Like when you have that melodic um, bloom in the through in the third fourth of the song, and you have all that percussive stuff happening at the same time. But if you guys don't think that was too much, then that's pretty cool because it's just something that I might have thought that was something that
All
was
worked all worked well
Nope,
together in
I
my
did.
opinion. Yeah.
Yep, it came together well like that.
cool. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think it's
I would.
because your instruments are also clean, so there's not too much wash, and I think that's why you it allows you to have quite a few instruments that is playing at the same time without without uh, having this wall of sound because everything is really doesn't have too much tail, and I think that's why it works. I really liked it. On my system though, the snare seemed really high frequency, like really,
Okay.
yeah. But it could be just on mine again. Every system
Yeah,
is different.
but for me, I mean, listening to it, I would say, like, I agree with everybody in that nothing really clashed, but it really gives you license to just very um, uh, minutely edit. Maybe take a look. I think you're onto something that maybe some improvements could happen to just take small elements out, but that really almost nothing has to change. But I think the little, if you want to prune though that percussion bit a little bit, it probably wouldn't take back as long as you're very sparing with it.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Dope track though, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Great track. I like that riff that played throughout the whole thing. You could really even exploit that even some more, to break down or whatnot.
Oh, it was a continuing theme. You talking about the that part? That
Yeah,
was continuing throughout the whole song, and uh, yeah, I thought that was just a nice little. It's kind of like it's not like a bass guitar, but it kind of reminds reminiscent of one, right?
yeah.
Well, for me anyway. I don't know,
I
but
think it was a good anchor for sure throughout the entire
yeah,
track because it's a great anchor instrument, familiar but interesting enough that I want to hear it throughout the whole time.
cool. All right, thanks, guys. Will inspire me to create some more stuff. Thanks very much.
yeah, excellent job. Sounds like a new and improved. I don't know if that's really the right way to state it, but it's like a twist on your typical sound in a way, I guess. I don't know if you've made other tracks like this, but kind of Chemical Brothers, a little bit more, dare I say, funky, perhaps.
Mm,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? As opposed to just like,
the
so
four
it's
on the
nice.
floor. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, serious. Very well done. I really like it. Okay, Peter, how's the jet lag doing?
It's brutal. It's 12 hours. So it's supposed to be morning, but minus the sleep. Uh, Still adjusting. Anyway, but like I sent two links. One is the most recent one where I'm experimenting a little bit, mixing some dub techno bass, and the rest is supposed to be like hypnotic and raw. So those subgenres generally don't mix. So I was curious what happens if I do. Obviously, I'm gonna hide it from various people who are purists, but it's just curiosity. The second track is more in line with raw hypnotic subgenre, which
So the first track is Lost. Is that the correct
yeah,
title?
the
And is it
first track.
video too? Is
Yeah,
okay, okay. So let's do one at a time,
right.
Peter.
They're all both short, so
Sure.
like for ish minutes each. So I guess both would fit, but also like we have more people today, so the second is kind of optional. And the first is more interesting in terms of like for me anyway, because I'm kind of bending the rules a little bit and something I would probably not play at the techno party, but full of techno snobs and purists, but it was just interesting for me personally. The second is more like in sort of in that subgenre, like proper. At least I tried to make it such. So anyway, that's really
Right,
all.
right. Well, what I meant to say is I'm gonna play one, we'll come back, and then I'll play the
Okay.
second guy because I have only one scene set up. That's why. So, all right. So let's give it a listen and a watch.
Yeah, there's a little bit of video visuals as well, same technique that
Excellent. Thought that was one of your better tracks. Maybe I don't know. They're all good, to be honest with you, but it seems like every time you play one, it gets better. I don't know how it's possible.
Yeah, that was awesome. And I mean, all I'm thinking of is what I was going to ask what key that's in, but more importantly, what note were you playing?
F minor,
Minor.
most of it to make it like this
I don't know. They're all good, to
unsettling
be honest.
feel.
It was amazing. You know, like I mean, you could tell that they're just the notes never change, but it just kept me engaged the whole time. I don't know how the hell you did it.
Yeah, this
It's
is
amazing.
techno trait. The notes don't change unless you do melodic specifically, which is technically not techno. It's just rebranded trance. But with techno, you don't have melodies. They try to talk using different means, the swinging bass and like various effects and stuff.
I feel like the melody is implied, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even though it's just a one note or whatever,
Trick
like
is that it
in
exists,
The rhythm
in
is
your
there.
own mind, you can
but
kind
it's
of, you
not
know,
explicit.
yeah, yeah, no, very, very nice.
I
Like
love the subtle use of like a halftime snare for a good chunk of it. Like it just added a nice groove to it. I don't know if that's what you're talking about that the purists don't like, but I like that a lot.
No, it's for to call it raw, like
Yeah.
still like dub techno kind of elements, which
Mm.
is slightly melodic.
Hmm.
This is no in raw techno, like it shouldn't exist. So it
Love it.
makes it softer. The raw techno
Mm.
is harder, more harsher. Imagine the setting where it's like a legal rave under the
Of
bridge.
course. Yeah.
Dark, no lights, no lasers, no bullshit. Like it's like super like people with hoodies, like just dancing. Right. So like that's kind of music. So you add
Mhm.
sweeteners to that and people would just what the heck is going on, right? It's
Love
not
it.
yeah, it's not appropriate.
But
In
But
You're
that
you're
was like more like in terms of like just playing with these things,
you're
experimenting.
always moving to a peak. It just always seems to escalate and rise and climb. Keeps yeah.
Yeah, that bass and the kick, man, they just drive the entire track. And I loved at the midpoint where you dropped off the kick and the bass for quite some time. I'm glad you didn't do it just for a bar or 8 bars. It seemed like long enough so that when it came back, we'd forgotten about it, and man, does it have an impact. Holy smokes. That
Yeah,
I love that part. I think that was
I like
something
it.
so
This is the
simple.
longest drop, the longest build up I've ever
Well,
made. And
it
but
worked.
yeah, it does require like proper subs. So like when it resumes, like everybody's like kind of feeling it, like
Oh,
the kick with like it's a kick to the guts, right? Like
yeah, definitely.
it just keeps pumping. So
Yeah.
like yeah, this is the so the genre is all about like this
Well
kind
done.
of effects
Get
like
on
this.
that spaceship.
I was going to ask actually that because the kick as well had like a really high register. I mean, there was obviously a low end thump to it, but what really stuck out was the higher it seemed like you had a kick, or sorry, a top to that. Did you have two kick samples?
Yeah,
Where does that kick really
we
hit?
talked about it the last meeting, and I even tried to show it, and I failed completely because it was a template just super new for me, so I didn't reverse engineer it
The
sufficiently.
rumble. You were showing
Now I
the
know
kick rumble.
much more about it, so because I had to reset my setup completely and start from scratch in November, right? Last November. So I borrowed a few things from various projects. Some of them were mine, some of them weren't, because like my stuff was heavily dependent on Roland cloud stuff, which I had to teach. So I've taken a few elements and I didn't quite know how they work until recently. So I think we theorized that it was just one kick and all the processing after. And I discovered the two more layers of it later, and unfortunately, it's on the record. It's misleading. So if you ever play that part from the previous meeting, it's incorrect.
Yeah, Peter,
Yeah, I
I've
mean,
been actively reverse engineer your kick sounds for my own exploitation. And it sounds like you've got a lot of stuff like really boiling under in there somewhere.
Yeah, there are
Yeah, so
plenty
that's
of.
what I've been trying to steal from it. I love that stuff, man. I had to subscribe to your channel for that. Just
There
to
is a guy who's doing the tutorials, and that kick I took from him. All these years prior, it was mine, and after I've heard this, I need to get that. So
hey,
I
at
can
the
point
beginning.
you to that video. I have it bookmarked somewhere.
Okay.
So you can, and there is a description and there's a link to Ableton projects. If you're Ableton, you can find them.
Yeah, I'm a lowly Reaper user, but at the very beginning, you had like it sounded like a drone bass note. Were you ducking that with the kick? Hello.
Yeah, mute, Peter.
Yeah, there's a very simple thing, and then there's side chaining by the kick, but
Get out there.
it's just like a what's it called, sinusoid?
Stein.
Then just noise. But I say chain it because kick's so prominent that makes it pulsating, and then you just add reverb to it, and that's what makes it like this. So it's
Yeah.
not very hard. Like this part is actually quite trivial technically, but it does this what you described. So
You were silenced during the important part there, but we'll catch up later. Thanks. Good try.
Yeah, so let's check out the second track, Peter. Anything else you wanted to mention? This one you're saying?
it's just more restrained. It's more within the genre. So other than that, it's called Black Masks.
All right.
All
Let's
kinds of
give
raves.
it a
with
spin
masks.
and turn it up. Yeah, so let's check out the second track, Peter. Anything else you wanted to mention? This one.
Not it.
Yeah, good job on that one, Peter.
I think I sent you the short version, but that's okay. I think it's
Yeah, I heard the fade out there. And I was,
yeah.
but
This wasn't the right one, but it doesn't matter. I'll send a link for those who are interested to replay them at some point. Maybe
yeah,
I
you guys
sent
really.
you a short,
I encourage you
but
also
that's
to do it
okay.
in the YouTube
I think
channel, Peter,
yeah,
because that
I heard
way
the fade out there.
people can click on it. You know what I mean? Whereas opposed to if they see it, if you think about on the replay, for example, they would actually have to manually type that URL, right? But if you put it in the chat in the YouTube, someone could just click it. It's just throwing it out there.
I sent the link to the channel so that it's actually less to in the video sections, but not like just
Peter,
for
the video is not AI, is it? It's clips that you found.
I'd say
it's all generated.
Oh, because I thought maybe Phil, I thought you said that when you generate the AI, you're limited to 3 seconds or something like that.
6
Six.
seconds.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. There are some that can do 10, but the one Peter and I
Okay.
use is 6. And there's tricks. I think it comes out of there at 25 frames per second, so you can slow it down to maybe 20 and get away with it. I had to
Mhm.
do that with a couple of my scenes, but to extend them. But yeah, it's gonna get better. But yeah,
I think DeepSeek is coming out with one.
yeah, we'll
That's the
see.
Chinese one, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, they do video chat or text chat now. I don't know about their audio or the image stuff
I
right
saw a
now.
blurb about some image stuff coming up.
Yeah,
Or is it already out? I'm not sure. But their
interesting to
servers
see.
are overwhelmed.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. I like doing it for free on my own hard drive or on my own hardware right now, with the exception of the video creation. But um,
You have an NVIDIA card?
oh yeah, yeah, I've got a laptop from work that I use. They've got a nice NVIDIA card on there,
What's
16
in it?
gig VRAM. It's a 5,000 or
Oh,
4,000. Sorry, it's got 16 gigs of VRAM. So
okay.
Nice.
yeah, it's decent, but I'm gonna build one. I'm gonna build a machine eventually once the Nvidia stock goes down and those become really cheap. Then
Good luck.
I'll buy a bunch of them.
Don't hold your breath.
But yeah, good job, Peter. I really like that track.
Thanks.
And the theme, I suppose it is what it is, but good old gas masks, can't go wrong. But yeah, no, good work with the video. I liked the interplay that seems to be like now you're exclusively making music with video, right? If I'm not mistaken from what you were saying last time.
For now, yes. Until I get bored with this.
Right on, right on. And have you looked into, I mean, I know there's a lot of DJs now that are DJing more or less music videos. So every time they play a track, there's like a video that corresponds with it.
Yep.
So is
I'm
that kind
not
of the
sure.
idea?
I mean, I'm playing with that because I ditched the SoundCloud, so I post them on YouTube, and since they're on YouTube, I figured something visual would fit. But generally speaking, at the rave, you don't want any kind like I mean, I want people to distract like half of the people like dancing with eyes closed. So the
Yeah,
idea is to talk to them musically. And in
yeah,
fact, like the proper ones, the better ones, they don't even have the light, much of the lighting either. It's
yeah. It
just a
depends.
little bulb, the red bulb in the corner. That's all you expect.
Right. For this genre, it's sort of different genres. I mean, it's more of a
Right.
retro thing, but
Yeah, I'm talking about
there
like
is,
this particular
you know,
one that like
I
you
was at a
don't
venue
want to
where
distract people with this in the real
ah,
like party setting, right? But generally like yeah, I mean for all kinds of other types of parties, by all means, that would probably fit nicely.
it's a new
VJing, they call it.
not new. There's a club in Toronto, Ground Control, where the guy I was talking to him, DJ Lazarus there. He does retro stuff, you know what I mean? So it's totally different genre, but it is interesting where basically that's like a differentiator for his particular style, like playing 80s stuff, you know what I mean? Like old school pop. But every time they play a tune, they've got like a video going. And I was thinking that could be twisted around with some new angle on that. You never
Yeah.
know, right?
Oh yeah.
But I agree. I agree for it's kind of that dark techno. It's kind of more minimalist. You wouldn't. It's not. It's almost literal, right? To have like okay, one track, one video, and there's like Michael Jackson moonwalking or whatever, right? It's like it's a different thing. But there's a lot of I think there's a lot of room for experimentation where people might be able, and they already do, but with lighting and synchronization. But it's a very multi-dimensional world that basically we're you know stepping into, I guess. We already are in a multi-dimensional world, but I mean from a DJ perspective, um, that could be something that I haven't seen it in underground music anyway, or heard of it, but maybe it does exist out there.
Well,
But
the
there's a lot of
technology has been
multimedia for sure.
the technology exists like it's been like virtual DJ, if you know which what I
Yeah, yeah,
mean.
I use virtual DJ, yeah,
They support this stuff. They've been supporting this stuff since
for decades.
early 2000, right?
Yeah.
So like it's been technically possible to like insert those video, get them synced as you mix and
Yeah, even if you like scratch, for example, the video like scratches or whatever, you know what I mean? Like it's literally in sync. So, but
but like with AI, like it gets so accessible, so cheap now, everybody can do it. And yeah, it definitely makes it more appealing because the traditional video editing like is extremely expensive labor wise and just technology wise, like to make a visuals for every track and then mix it. It's like a lot of work as opposed to just whatever normally DJs do, get buy music and play it, right? So, but now with these models being very cheap or free, your imagination is the limit, basically. You
yeah,
can
and
build anything.
it could be dynamic too. I
Yeah.
foresee a day where the hardware is powerful enough that you could like literally get this quality on the fly. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
You know. So, anyways, that's yeah. So thank you again for sharing, uh, Peter. Good stuff. It's always an inspiration for me personally, and I think for a lot of people. The Baron of Bass, I think, is what I saw there from Brian. That's a good. It's one way of describing it, but definitely hearing that with the full subwoofer is like the true experience. Right, Jeff, you're the next contestant.
Oh, mystery nights. So there's a couple of three different sort of elements in here that come together. Sort of a tuning in, atmospheric, sort of a land bass, blues, jazz, piano, and then an electronic component that comes in. So we'll see how it comes across. Any comments about how to better integrate this would be appreciated. You know, thank you.
All right, let's give it a listen.
communication, radio communication back and forth. It could be in a different language or something, or it could be telling a story, you know, like this call and response or something to kind of tie the whole song together. You've got the shortwave radio going on, you've got kind of this mysterious thing, and then you've got it switching and transitioning. So you could almost have something happen in the vocal or the radio transmission that then changes to this other pace, this other tempo of the song, other melody of the song, and then goes back and forth. Anyway,
I
that was
like that idea because it starts to tell the story, tells the story more. Like yeah, it helps with the transition of the idea. Yeah, that's good.
mhm.
Thank you.
I thought it sounded very engaging, energetic. The bass frequencies came through very clearly. If that's what you were looking for, you
Hmm.
did it successfully.
Thank you.
In terms of one way, I think maybe you could improve even more is you have a breakbeat that you bring in,
Hmm.
but it's filtered and it kind of stays at that kind of level of darkness. If you can modulate the filter and kind of open and close it and create a bit of movement, I think that would add even more to the song. It's something that I find works really well on like looped beats.
So when you say you filter it, what do you actually what?
It sounds EQ'd in another way, like
Yeah,
a lot of mid range. There's not like a lot of high end, for example. It just
yeah.
sounds like
High
Oh,
if you were to
pass,
get a
low
loop
pass.
and you like chopped off like the first third of the frequencies, it kind of has that kind of a sound.
so play up to the higher frequency and chop some of the lower frequency out.
Yeah, but not even like
Okay.
not even statically. I mean, like create modulation through the use of a filter. Like you use
Yeah,
Logic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you can add a filter to your chain, increase the cutoff or decrease the cutoff, and that will give you the ability to kind of create that movement. Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So modulate on a filter
Yeah.
with
I mean,
saturation
I'm not saying
or
you need to do that. Just
no,
a,
no, no. But
yeah.
that's the whole point. Is try
Yeah.
to get something that brings the pieces together more because there's yeah. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
And
Sure.
sometimes even a little hint of it. It doesn't necessarily have to become like an entire roller coaster of like it could, but I'm just saying sometimes even like it's surprising how like a little minute accent here and there can
Yeah,
work.
and
And
I think
sorry, I'll also say layering. That's another option you might consider. Like
I
add
think
another complementary layer. Hey,
what they're talking about is like a low pass filter where you're taking out the high frequencies, leaving the low ones, and you can kind of it kind of gives it a wow wow sound. Um, and so you can automate that by moving the cutoff on a EQ,
Sure.
um, or yeah, I mean that's probably I suppose the best way to do it. What they're talking about, and
Yeah.
yeah, it can be very minute, just something that gives a little movement. I thought the track was amazing. The one thing I would say is that you had transitions which were subtle, but they didn't have to be. So they went from one thing to another, and there wasn't that much difference. But if you did a bit more of a build up to it, it would sound like a more significant change. So even though there was a small change in instrumentation, it just kind of blended from one thing to the next, and so it sounded small. But if you kind of gave it a second to breathe, maybe pulled some percussion elements back for a moment, and then brought in this new element, which was still very similar to what you had before, it would sound more like a change.
Hmm.
Um, like I thought the transitions were left something an opportunity for you to kind of
Okay.
yeah
Thank you, Peter.
make more of a note. You're
Hmm.
yeah. I
welcome.
think to talk about the filtering idea, I almost thought maybe do a bandpass filter. So you're basically just focusing on a certain band of frequencies. You're cutting off the
Hmm.
high and the low,
Yep.
but you're changing that band position, so it's moving from upper to lower, and
Yeah.
it's almost like you're tuning the radio.
Yeah. I can animate my EQ. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a filter. It's a
Yeah.
bandpass filter, not an EQ. But yeah,
Oh,
so
actually, I can animate. Funny that you say that because I can actually just take the like one of the frequencies in the EQ, and you could just modulate it right across, animate it, modulate it. So there may be other ways of doing it too. So I'll look
yeah,
into
it's
that. Oh,
similar
Yeah.
similar to
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
You could
Super.
even map it to your your mod wheel on your synth if you have one.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I'd
you
not
can come
gone that
back.
way, Peter. Yeah, I mean, Brian. Yeah,
You can come back later and actually play that part into it. You know, a variation I was thinking might be kind of cool is if you duplicate I assume you've got the MIDI for that piano part.
yeah, yeah.
Duplicate it for another kind of keyboard, like maybe a electric piano, something like that, and then have it morph between piano um, to electric piano or some other keyboard sound, just in place of that whole EQ idea. It's kind of just to change the timbre in an even more bass level.
I like that. I like that because at a certain point in time, I get tired of that piano. So yeah, giving it a little bit more, a
Did you
little
play
bit
that
more.
part in?
Huh?
Did you play that part in?
I would have just doodled it out on the keyboard. Yeah,
But
and
you were physically playing it, right?
yeah, but I mean, not in real time. I would have just been knocking something out. Most everything there is done through a MIDI keyboard and then just step time to improve it. So
Yeah.
I don't usually use samples. I do everything from scratch, and that's why all these ideas of metering and putting in the modulation is good for me because that's the way I try to build my
Yeah.
sounds, right?
Kudos on the mixed meters there. Uh, the other thing, the only thing I was thinking is with a keyboard, it seemed like the velocities were pretty steady. You know what I mean? So it's like if it's almost like if you were to not play in the keyboard part, but actually um,
Paint it in, draw it in,
just print it in like into the piano or
piano roll.
the piano roll. So it doesn't have that same touch that you get, even if it's subtle, with it when you play an actual keyboard. Maybe it's your keyboard that's doing it. I don't know, but the difference between loud and soft isn't real profound.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you could grab all your notes and do a random
yeah.
randomness on it.
On the velocity itself, or bring in, like as you said, a second instrument and sort of that's similar but different and move between them a little bit.
You know
Yeah,
what I
Absolutely.
would do if I can combine a few ideas? Take your original sound, uh,
Mm,
route it to a second track, take that track and compress it.
mm,
A little makeup gain, a little extra compression, and then put some effects and interest on that. So you have the original notes
mm-hmm.
playing that are kind of the base of what we all know and love, and then you have this over compressed signal that you mix in that has some variation to it. So you kind of have the best of both worlds in that you have, yeah, the chords that you like that were straightforward, and then you have this other thing which is the same thing, but with extra effects, extra modifications, a little more to poke through, and you can play with that. So you get both. And yeah, so you get. I don't know. I found that's worked well for me.
A lot of really good ideas there. So that's super. I appreciate that.
I really liked your track, Jeff.
Oh, thank you.
Especially after you have the intro that has a certain flavor, and then you
Mm.
get into the rest, which changes a little bit. And I really liked where it changes, like that after the intro part. Um, that then I think we get to feel more of that bluesy and jazzy flavor that you're talking about, and I I love that area. Yeah,
Ah, thank you.
well
Yeah,
done.
land and air. Okay. Yeah,
Someone
thank
mentioned
you.
Supertramp. It kind of someone when they mentioned that, I was like, oh, okay, I can
Uh,
kind of see that
like
connection.
brother, were you bound? That era. I can't remember the album, but I think it's
Brother, where art thou?
no, brother, were you bound is the song they did.
Forgive me.
Yeah, I'll try to find it here. It's a great album.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing, Jeff.
Oh, thanks for all the comments, everybody. Much appreciated. Lots to grow with there. That's what I like. Thank you.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, album is called
All
Brother Were
right,
You Bound.
Paul, brother,
Where You Been?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just gonna
where
put
you
it in
been?
here.
Yeah, so what I am playing for you, and thanks for humoring me with this. It is a little bit long, but I did a set at Toronto Electronic Music Open Mic back in the second Monday of January, using the Digitone 2, which is the device I used last month to play my kind of trip-hop-ish track. So that's track 3. And then the first one is more of attempting to do IDM style, and then the second is tech house. Now, tech house, it's not techno. Nowhere near proper techno, and I know that. But I don't know. I ended up getting a pretty good recording from this like dinky pocket recorder, and through Ozone 9, which I attest is still better for quick mastering than the newer ones. But um, yeah, curious what you think. I'm planning to do this more often. I'm playing again next month and in March. In March, I'll be doing a set with my buddy, but February is just me, and it might be at 20 to 1 in the morning, so I don't expect to see any of you guys. But yeah, so that's kind of my goal, is to really do a lot of music on the Digitone and Syntac, and focus on those two machines. Yeah, and love to hear feedback, especially on the tech house one.
Cool. Okay. Well, let's check it out.
Very cool set, man.
Thanks for watching that, guys.
Did you, let me ask you this, did you spend a lot of time like trying, before you did that, like figuring out like what you were going to play and the sequence that you were going to play it and that kind of thing, or was it you have a bunch of this stuff on there, like depending on the what the crowd is doing, you'll switch to a different
So
thing?
those were actually just the first three patterns or like beats I made on the Digitone 2 since I bought
Okay.
it. So that reason why it wasn't like a flowing set. I stopped between each song because they were kind of three different styles and tempos. And no, it was just about this learning the instrument and then creating patterns that are interesting, but by sequencing them. And what I used a lot in that set particularly is humor me because I got this camera that follows. All right. Um, so I've used the function. You hold down the track button and turn a knob, and it modifies the parameter on all of the 16 tracks at once. So, or all of the tracks that have the same engine at once. So, like, you can do a filter on a whole bunch of things at once, or you can modify like FM stuff, which makes kind of the cool noises. And so my thought was, I will use simple beats, but I'll modulate them and it'll sound cool. I don't know. It's really fun. So yeah, that's kind of the approach I took.
Sounded really good, that especially that last track, that from what I heard anyways, sounded very I don't know, complete.
That one I put the most time into because like yeah, I shared it last month as well, right?
Right.
And but I added the end part where I just kind of dropped it down to two tracks and used I've never used it before, Euclidean sequencer, just on top of the chord that was already there, and it just added like some like random but notes that work together that kind of made a cool like outro, I thought.
Well, let us know again. Remind us when you play again, which I'll try to make the effort.
Well, second Monday in March, I'm going to be doing a set with a friend of mine who's definitely going to be doing like probably a Korg Volca and like an Akai rhythm wolf. He likes the weird instruments, so yeah, it'll be more abstract, like a little less kind of beat driven than my usual stuff. But that's the next one I know won't be absurdly late and or unplanned. So
How
Right
late
on.
did you say this
thanks
one
for
was?
watching that. What's that?
Yeah.
What time did you get on with this one?
This one it was 10:40, and it was nice. I would say there was at least 40 or 50 people there.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
that's a good crowd.
and yeah, Thomas, you were there to attest. Yeah, with I even cut in the crowd noise. I'm like, yeah, look, people are cheering. Like she said, you don't get that a lot as an electronic musician, right? But,
Yeah, excellent. That was well done.
Yeah, it was really good.
um,
Thanks for sharing. It's always nice to see some sort of live playing.
yeah, even like in the box, like bring your laptop, man. People do that. Like people just go and play drones on an iPad sim for
Oh no, I've seen people come with a phone, just a phone, and
yeah,
they're
yeah.
playing their set on a phone.
And then there's people who bring like, $20,000 worth of modular equipment.
So when you prepare for these, do you sort of memorize all what the knobs do? Because they're probably all mapped to something, right? Some effect for each set that you're doing.
Yeah. Here, I'll try to show you a bit, but so each of these green buttons on the synth is a track, and you can have up to 16 voices across 16 tracks. Some of them are chords. So if I had all 16 of these going, like there would be voice stealing and things wouldn't work together. But
Yeah.
I want to say this one's like 7 or 8 tracks, and you work kind of like a DJ. So like I'm playing one part now, I'm adding the bass drum, turning it off. You can also put in a bunch of them at once, and it's a lot of the same. I think kind of rhythmic input is like DJing, like when you DJ like using pads or like controllers, or people do like beat juggling. Like I'm not very adept at it, but like electron makes you have to be relatively adept at it. Because in Ableton, you can press a button and then at the next bar it plays the part.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. It's real time. And it's
Okay, so you have to
only real
memorize
time.
the beat.
But it makes you a better performer if you
Right.
just stick with it. And
Yeah.
I feel like
But
it has for me.
so you have to
Speaking
remember,
of the
you have to,
pressures, like you have to like be so in sync,
Yeah.
like the rhythm, like the feel of the rhythm, like perfect.
so
Well,
you have to memorize your sets then, which buttons do what.
In a way, you need to memorize which track one's my kick, track four is my hi-hat, and you have groups. Like you can do song mode and you can perform like a bunch of patterns in a row, but I generally don't do that. I just make one and I modulate and play it until it's a song. Or if this, well, actually, the last one I did is two patterns because there's a key change. But
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
If you're into hardware, everybody, you should check out this film. I just put it in the chat. It's about this guy who invented this kind of. It would take an audio signal and drive a synth off of it back in the late to early 80s.
Oh, interesting.
Anyway, it's a great kind of movie of his daughter. He died when she was like 5 months old or 6 months old or something. But anyway, she seeks him out like through this device. So she has like it never got made commercially, but she had like the prototypes and like 6 partial things that he was trying to sell, and even Peter Gabriel ordered one or something. But it's an interesting like slice through this or exploration of like this
Cool.
finding this hardware and then trying to get it to work. And then she took it all around the world and like had people play
It's like
stuff.
Reanimator.
Yeah, but it's
These people play
anyway,
on the.
it's kind of an interesting film if you're into that kind of stuff.
Cool. All right. Well, gotta move it along here. I just realized the time. If I can find out what screen. Okay. Ready? Yeah. So I'm gonna play a tune. Well, I'll just let it play. I was debating between two tunes to play tonight, but I decided on this one. So let's hear what you guys think. Yeah. So
That was quite something, Lenny.
Oh,
Yeah,
Like I
thank you.
said, those
I
wow.
those
really
last
like
two
that, Lonnie.
tracks, those
Yeah,
last two
that's
tracks you've played here are like light years beyond like what you originally started out playing back when we were live. I mean, that stuff was good, but this is just like beyond. Very, very well done. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm a slow learner. I all these years of listening, osmosis perhaps, but yeah, this track I felt pretty happy with it, to be honest with you. Structurally, at first I thought it was two tracks, but I
Hmm.
think it works. I think it is one actually coherent track,
Yeah.
and I feel like actually coming to the meetup has helped me. Listening to all the stuff you guys do and over the years, and also like I say, DJing, you hear how much effort people put into their productions. So I really tried to actually push it with this one because I thought it's really coming together, and so I kind of kept like even with the hi hats and like I say, I'm happy with the drums, how they're side chained or whatever.
Mhm.
But someone mentioned groovy, like that's the original title of the track actually. It's like a common theme, So it's funny that people provide that feedback. So
I like at some points you got some vocals and voices coming on, and I found those were very well selected. They really worked.
yeah, yeah, like I'm really having fun with the effects. I think I mentioned this last time. Like a lot of times you can have like a simple groove, but with the right timing and the right combination, it's amazing how much you can stretch, frankly, from like a pretty simple when you really break it down. So, but kind of has a more of a I guess someone mentioned it's more like an uplifting tune too. So it's kind of more just straight ahead funky as
Yeah.
opposed to like dark. It's not really a dark tune per se, right? Which is typically, but it's nice. I'm glad. I like all types of drum and bass personally. So I'm happy that I'm kind of I named it Future Effects because it has kind of a future signal sound to it. It's one of my favorite producers
Big-
groups, I guess, over the years.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's almost like a critical records, dare I say, mainstream drum and bass. You know what I mean?
Like
As opposed to like real experimental.
the locked in melody at one point where it's like bum 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 ba da ba da, and I mean this as a compliment because I don't know where you stand in this. Reminds me of some of the best Pendulum tracks. But you only
Right,
do that for a bit, and then you switch into that kind of modulated, like
right.
noise-driven section, and like it creates that good variety. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
actually what I was trying to articulate
accessible.
is that if you
Yeah,
took one section of that track and you played it, you get sick of it. But because of the
yeah.
way it's arranged, that's I guess what I was trying to say. It flows, right? So that was something that I was happy with because I would hear different parts of the track and I thought, all right, this works. But man, what else am I going to do, right? Like after a certain amount of times, and so I learned a lot, frankly, making this track. And it's sometimes I think someone made the comment that sometimes you can almost see the DAW when you hear music. You can sort of see the sections. I feel like this track it's fluid enough, it's not as like rigid, like okay, here's this section. Even though it is kind of sectional, it kind of it kind of works. So that's how I see it. But anyway, glad that you know that people seem to like it, and yeah, I thanks for checking it out.
First time I'm hearing happy drum and bass from you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I felt weird about it, frankly. I was like, okay, I'm making like it's, and I think it's deceptive because it starts off even more so, right? And then it kind of switches gears and it gets darker.
Mhm.
And then it kind of makes you like that part more in a way. That's how I feel about it. Like, and when it comes back, you're like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Whereas if
I,
it was just that, I would feel that it would be like too happy, basically. So yeah, it's uh it's fun stuff. Yeah. All right. Okay. I remember the name. I think I remember perhaps some of the stuff you shared before, but good to see you again. How are things?
Ooh, good, good. How are you?
Like I say, I'm doing better after a pretty rough week.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, about this track. This was about 2 years ago. I know the first thing a lot of people will say, which is that the mix is low, like the volume is low. I didn't mix it loud enough. I've learned that lesson in the last 2 years, I should say. So I know a bit about that now. Yeah, it's I guess I don't know that I have a genre of music, to be honest. All my stuff is kind of all over the place. I also don't like to kind of follow a kick pattern. If if I'm making music, the kicks kind of just end up being almost random. I think it's more driven by the snare or hi-hat. So I think you'll see that anyway in this song. But yeah, go ahead and play.
All right, let's give it a listen.
That was cool. I really liked the openness and the sparseness, and the mix was really good. Like you, I don't know what people were listening to that said it was low volume, but I pulled up my meters just to see what they were talking about, but you didn't have any trouble at all.
I really liked the open. It has very unique style and it works. I really liked it.
Thank you.
I know what you mean. I'm the same. Sometimes it's hard to land on a genre because you're trying to experiment and you love different sounds. So I could see that you had fun with this one, and it works. It works. Good
If you
job.
don't know what genre it belongs, you call it experimental.
Experimental, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go. Easy.
Had a really nice groove.
Thank you.
I
Thanks.
feel
Yeah,
like it had a
definitely.
orchestral part to it, like, and I could see it. It's almost like a stripped down, perhaps. Like you kind of added it and then took it away, and
Yeah, there were sections where I was messing around with a violin, I think. I think it was a violin and a cello, just to add like elements to the chorus. But that was it. I didn't, and they were very clean. Like I didn't process them at all. They were just clean cello and violin samples. I just left it as is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
was
think
a
you
nice
can.
touch. I liked the on-off switch back, and it's just coming from so many different directions. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really dug it too. The sparsity of that kick, I think it totally works. It's fine the way it is. I wouldn't worry
Oh,
about
good.
that. Another thing I was thinking, it might be kind of cool to really maybe play up the crescendos with the strings a little bit more so that they really come at you. But
Okay.
I think it's very conducive to a lot of different kinds of shows that are on cable now
Mm-hmm.
or
Okay.
on streaming.
Check that out.
Yeah, very contemporary to today. Yeah.
whoa, my hey, my cat decided to jump on my other computer there. But yeah, I was thinking the same thing. You could almost see that like in a Netflix, you know, something or other, like a scene or whatever. Um, yeah.
For some reason, it's associated somehow with like a short film soundtrack kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Short film experimental, those that you would expect to see at Toronto Festival TIFF, right? And that kind of music that also sort of not in the mainstream, one of those mainstream genres, like more like that would belong to this kind of production.
I often get that when people listen to my music, either that or video games. It's
Yep.
either cinematic, film, or video games. I think it's because I really like I really like pitch bending, and you'll probably heard it in a lot of the melody. There's like a lot of pitch variation and stuff like that. So
I was gonna say, I almost put a comment about fearless pitch bending. That was really good. I'm
yeah.
telling you, man, there's an experimental dance company somewhere that really needs this track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
good stuff, man.
Yep. Thank you for sharing. And I think Richard, you submitted
But
something.
not
I guess you're the this is the project you were working with
Last but not least.
from back in 1981. I think I remember seeing.
Yep, that's right. So some of you may know I'm in the midst of everything else that's going on. I've become sort of an amateur anthropologist, ethnomusicologist. I've been working with a composer, and we've been resuscitating, reclaiming, salvaging, I'm not sure what the right word is, a whole series of recordings that were made in an electronic music studio at the University of Texas in Austin back in the 80s. And I've been it's sort of been on the back burner, but over the holidays, I had some free time. And so this is a good number to end with. It's a minute and 38 seconds long. So while you're listening to it, it may not, it doesn't fit with anything else that you've heard tonight. So it's a good way to end on a different note. But it's short and sweet. So for me, most of the exercise is just trying to salvage a piece of what I thought was interesting electronic experimental music in a scene that I was involved in a long time ago in a galaxy far away. This piece was recorded, as best we can tell, in 1981, I believe. And I'm going to put a URL in the chat. It's recorded on these vintage wave makers on analog tape, Ampex tape. It was salvaged from half-inch master. It went to DAT. I made WAV files out of them. And I've been I've got dozens of these things. I've been listening to these tracks with my friend Rick Peterson, who's the composer, and he's selected several of these pieces as just sort of being characteristic of what was going on at that point in time with this particular equipment. And I don't know if you have time, but this guy, Terry Kincaid, whose pictures there's on the screen, very interesting dude, invented all this equipment, tried to start a company up, sold a bunch of equipment. A lot of his equipment ended up in experimental electronic music studios at universities, sort of academic sorts of recording settings. And the company, it folded, never made it. And these pieces are museum items now. So it's fascinating. They had all of the characteristics of early modular equipment in that, hand soldered components, very unstable temperature. As the machines heated up, they became, the oscillators drifted all over the place. So you could never play the same thing twice, which was a real pain in the butt at the time. Now it's character. Now it's really, so it's just, what was awful is terrible, so. But anyways, for me, it's been interesting dealing with other people's music. And I've been, as I said, going through a lot of these tracks that have been salvaged and moved through all these different formats. Getting that none of them were recorded loud enough. So I've been working with experimenting with different ways to boost the amplitude of the signal without compressing. And that's been interesting. And then some light touch equalization. There's no compression because the dynamics are so great. But, it's a blast from the past. Hope you find it interesting. This piece is called Indeterminate. It's 1 minute and 38 seconds long, composed by Rick Peterson in Austin, Texas in 1981.
Cool. Let's check it out.
Cool.
I've never heard anything like it. Fascinating.
So here's my technical question. Too much top, too high end. I think a lot of his complaint was that because it came from tape and it had jumped so many formats that a lot of the top, the crispness was gone.
Heard anything like it.
So
No, I
I
thought I thought the mix was good
all right.
myself. Like I said, I would love to hear like this mixed in Dolby Atmos,
Mhm.
like have all these things swirling around you in a theater. It'd be crazy. Yeah.
I
There
think
are
it could really work with contemporary music, actually. Like, I mean, I think it's got so much character, so much interesting sounds that, yeah, I mean, I could see remixers. But in its original format, I don't know. That's what really grabs my attention with this stuff is how organic it is and how appealing it is. You know what I mean? For some reason, even though it's just kind of like I could totally hear that in a drum and bass track, to be honest with you. Like it would be
Mhm.
perfect, like in a breakdown and intro.
Lenny, I see a collaboration coming on.
Hey, I'd be very happy to give it a try. I mean,
That could
I'm sure a
be,
lot of people would be.
if he would be open to it, that would be a nice challenge to do. Is like, take one of these pieces and turn it into something.
I would like to
Of your
put
own.
a lot of these things out there and just have people take them and do something with them because
Mhm.
you know
That's like
they,
something we should do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
for
you're
love
if
sure.
it.
you're interested. So I'm packaging all these things up. I think we selected 9 of them. We've got about almost 50 minutes of music. Some of the other pieces are considerably longer, 10 or 15 minutes long. Maybe I'll play one of those next time when you all are more patient. I don't know. Uh,
Yeah, no, for sure. I
n-
think I
noth-
would I wanted to hear
nothing would
more, to
make
be honest with
nothing
you.
would make me happier than if segments of these pieces had a new life. If they found a new purpose, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, as long
Yeah.
as he's cool with it.
More to
So
come.
Yeah, definitely, Robert, Richard.
Very raw.
Yeah, yeah, and I felt the sound quality was really good, frankly. Like you were saying, I
That's
mean, it's hard to really, maybe from his memory, right? But as far as I heard it, it just sounded like very, pretty good dynamic range. It didn't seem like it was lacking, for example.
did
well,
you do processing on that?
yes, I did because I'm
Good
not
job.
the many of us sort of apologize for mastering or mastering not good enough and I'm the same. So it's kind of an awesome responsibility when someone else is asking you to do their material. Um, Not my strong suit, and so I've learned a lot in the process. Just working with someone else's material. I really it's been a really good exercise for me on that, just to get out of my own head. So yep, had to really figure out how to boost it, the signal. I added what is it, 4.5 dB
Mhm.
to the signal because before it was not. You really couldn't tell the dynamics of it, between the soft parts and the louder part. It was just simply not that great a contrast. And so there's this nice plug-in called the Oxford Inflator. I don't know if you've seen it. It's sort of a voltage controlled amplifier, and it's got all sorts of tuning on it with mid frequencies and what have you. I've been experimenting with that. Super interesting. And then there's this other more of an EQ plug-in that called the equalizer, kind of the same. Yep, that's the one. Um, that's been very useful for pulling out frequencies. So, like I said, not usually what I do. So it's more of a technical piece for me. I learned a lot in the process, and glad to share with you all. And I appreciate that you all enjoyed it. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing. That's very interesting stuff. It's like a traveling back in time and going through some history. And, that's the great thing about music is that it is timeless. So can always
Hey, Richard, check out the link I just put in the chat. It's a couple of guys I know who work with software called Touch Designer. That is
Oh,
right up the alley of the stuff. This guy was doing what, 40, 50,
oh God,
50
yeah.
40 years ago?
That would work with the visual. The visuals would work with that
Yeah.
music for sure. Wow. Yeah, I love Touch Designer. I've never learned it, but yeah, there's some really cool stuff being done with it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What is it? It's a visualizer? Is that what it
It's a
is?
piece of software where you can write all kinds of code to visualize based off of music or math functions or
Wow.
even like live cameras and stuff like that. People are using it for like video walls, displays in museums and at concerts and stuff too. Um, it's pretty crazy. Um, yeah, let's see. Touch.
We have a group that promotes techno events here, host them called Format, and their flyers are like this. Now I know where they're coming from. Every time they do the flyer, it's consistent in style, but different shapes and forms of this. Very cool.
Amazing.
I know how they're doing it. Exactly this. So they use that as a as a theme on the background, and then put the artist name, super minimalistic, and like all of their flyers are like this for years. So very cool. One way to use it.
Like a node-based programming system where you can feed it like music, video, output and process video, and you can send it to like multiple displays and do projection mapping and stuff. It's like you have to learn a lot of programming and stuff to kind of get stuff out of it. I tried learning it, but I just didn't have time. But I was gonna do that for my own music videos back in the day before AI came out. Um, but yeah, takes a time investment.
Yeah, life is short. I dropped the equalizer plugin.
Cool, yeah.
You were all there from Waves Factory. Very interesting little device there. That one also. I thought this would be in your toolkit, Phil.
I don't have this one. I have what is it? Well, I got the Fab Filter, but I've got what is it, Sonic EQ or something like that. There's a Smart EQ out there that I have, but yeah, this one looks pretty cool. Um,
Yeah, I really need to follow up on this kind of stuff.
It's never ending.
yeah.
Yeah, someone mentioned at one of the previous meetups, there's like a VST or some type of plugin that specifically removes like a harsh sound that is oftentimes
Yeah, it's Soothe.
soothe. That's it. Yes, because sometimes with EQ you can't get rid of that part without getting rid of the good stuff. You know what I mean? So I gotta really look into that.
Yeah, it's not cheap, but when it does go on
Yeah, I
sale,
also remember.
I think
Right.
didn't
it's
Ozone add
200 bucks.
something like that in 11 as well? Like a
Which one?
I think Ozone added like a highly adaptive EQ like that
Yeah, something
in
like
the
that.
latest
Yeah,
version.
people are starting to copy it. Yeah,
There we
Fab
go.
Filter does it as well, but Soothe was kind of like the first one I saw that came out. I don't own it, but I've never really had to use something like that, but it can be helpful for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've spent a good 20 hours trying to take out 60 cycle hum from one particular track, and that led to, on disc 15, track 42, it's a duplicate, and just looking for an alternate version because, just removing 60 cycles, what a huge pain that was.
Have you tried working with Isotopes RX toolkit?
I
Yeah,
have. Yeah.
that's a good idea.
It's like super expensive, but they have a ton of tools for this sort of like you
Sort
know,
hit
of
and miss.
forensics and
moving type stuff.
It's good for the click. I mean, are you talking about that one, or is it beyond that? Like the declicker and the
yeah,
dehum?
I think the advanced version has a lot of tools specifically
More
targeted
further.
towards this
I
sort
see.
of archival type stuff.
Right, right. Because the de-reverb, I don't know. Like maybe if you want to get, it doesn't really do a proper job if that's what you're actually trying to do. I mean, you could probably do creative things with it, but be interesting to hear as maybe they're already there, but once they can get that accurate with some of these AI to like literally just remove reverb from a recording, like a man have it crisp or something, you know? Like
I was just gonna say, I'm expecting a lot of AI processing tools this year, 2025. I think it's gonna be a breakthrough. We've already seen some, but those are like rare and expensive. But now as it's all going mainstream, all these models getting super cheap and many of them are free. Like all these various separators, like produce stems, it's like erase
right.
things, recognize this is a snare, this is not just like EQing, it's like really
Yeah, it's already
um,
partially there,
is
but I know what you mean. Like I can't hardly wait till we get to the point where you can do stem isolation to like absolute perfection, where it's
right.
like literally like here's the drum kit
But
clean, you
then
know?
it brings us all into that territory, which is interesting philosophically and ethically and everything else. Like, I mean, yes, we're already doing ozone and everything, but we still call it ours. Somewhere, somehow, there's a line we'll cross inevitably.
Well, sampling did that too. Like people just started
True,
listening to
true.
records
But
and
then
oh yeah,
it's
this
like
is mine.
it's a conscious like choice of
That's true. Yeah.
using something. It's like almost like DJing. So what? It's the entire track is not mine. So what? I
Hmm.
mix and use it creatively and whatever. So that the debate is old. But when
That's
you
arranging. I think.
insert an
Yeah.
artificial intelligence in this equation, and then it's kind of like in the middle somewhere, like where like it's kind of hard to define like how like is it still like an authentic work, right? If you're already doing things like that. So
Yeah, it's gonna get weird. I mean, it already is weird, but I know what you mean. You're gonna get to a point where AI is going to get so advanced in so many areas, not just music, right? Where it's inevitable that it's going to be able to make things that you won't necessarily recognize anymore if it's
right in
real,
your
real or
dock,
not.
right in your dock. Like I mean, I've seen some tutorials like they with voice processing now. Like it's just crazy. You mumble something and then like you pick the the voice and like tweak it in various ways and it's just
Yeah,
mind blowing what it can do.
it
Like, and
is
I imagine
interesting.
like this will propagate to
And
various other techniques.
Well,
it's
Like,
about
what
using it
what you say
creatively.
is interesting though, Peter, because I think a lot of musicians, like many years ago, used to travel their bands had arrangers, and they had that was a job in the band that they would have people take this stuff and go and arrange all of the different pieces of music, and it's at a totally different level now. To be able to fulfill that role because like we're so used to hearing groups come out and put the same thing out every night, and yet with this group listening to Paul and some of the stuff Thomas and people are doing, you're doing it differently all the time. Well, there's also a person who can bring that to a whole production site and a whole evening out. So I think that opens or brings back a new area of music that maybe disappeared for a while.
And there is creative uses we're seeing in popular music, well, semi-popular already. Like if you know the artist Caribou, his latest album, he's always made amazing music, but has kind of a basic shitty voice, and he never adulterates it as doctors it. This album, he used AI to make female vocal tracks, uh, rap vocal tracks, like different sounds, like different vocals, but it was still him underneath. Like you could hear inflections that you know from that artist, and it still sounded like him.
Oh, they brought
even though it
John
was a
Lennon
woman.
back for this, for God's sake, for this latest track just last year, right? Like,
Yeah.
how much farther you can go with, like,
So, and that I think is amazing. What I hate those when you are listening to a music on YouTube and then you look into the comments, it's like, oh, this is generated by AI. It's like that cheapens it for me because, like I don't know how that was created or
this is exactly what I'm saying. Like, at some point, there is a threshold after which it's interesting ethically, legally,
Mhm.
and all kinds of other ways, right?
I'm sure you
And
guys have
in
felt
terms
that.
of like people, like I still go to see a DJ, and I appreciate all the mistakes and all the imperfections and all of that because the person would be expressing himself musically in that setting. I'm not gonna go and see a robot playing music, right? It's like not interesting, even if it's perfect. It's not interesting. There is a human element of this in production and DJing and things. And now, like, it's kind of crippling in, like, kind of like all of these different things. Okay, ozone, well, it's still me, generally speaking, right? But this and the voice and the vocal and this and that and arrangement and this, and it's like kind of getting to the point then we will question the whole human aspect of this of the music making, right? I mean, it's not gonna be overnight. Oh, that's AI. I'm not interested. It's gonna be an interesting kind of hybrid and kind of in between until till we sort of start questioning the whole, industry, right? Like, I mean, the whole thing.
I think
Like,
it's very exciting. Like there's so many different angles, but one area from a business perspective, I think there's a lot of people kind of, thinking how many people they can lay off, you know what I mean? Just on a real brutalistic view, right? It's like, wait, you could have AI write journalism, you know what I mean? Like 90% of that perhaps could just be like, you won't tell the difference, and I don't know if 90% is an accurate number, but just extrapolate from all the different areas where you have creative people mixed in with business. I can really see, and the why I say this, the company I work at, they just salivate. As soon as they start talking about AI, they're just drooling. They're like, oh,
with business, it's simple. It's bottom
That's
line,
all
right?
tech
Like,
right
I
now.
mean, if it
Yeah.
does a job as well, probably like that's no brainer. They will just do it. In our area here, which is art, like, I mean, they can do the perfect job theoretically. Then what? Is it still interesting for us humans to consume this? Like, that's really where it's not straightforward to me, at least. Like, it could be absolutely perfect in all respects, perfectly mixed, perfectly arranged. But as long like if if the robot made it, like then whatever.
it's gonna be like Blade Runner, like right, like that's the whole theme, like the
Yeah.
simulacra.
Yeah.
Like what is life actually, right? Is the
Real.
robot?
Yeah.
It has false memories, right, in the movie, right?
So
Well, what are your
I'm
memories? Your
interested what
memories
you
is a
have to
bunch of
say
media and stuff,
musically.
right? That you
I,
could argue was also falsely
I think
informed.
we should get an opinion from Temperbot.
I'm interested what this person has to say musically. I'm not sure if I'm interested to listen to a perfectly made techno track by a robot, like because they don't. I don't know. I don't even. I can't even explain why, to be completely honest.
It's
I'm
the
with you
Turing test
100%,
of
Peter.
music.
However, there are other points of view, right? I mean, there's the world, it's a big world. A lot of people have different tastes. Um, it's big enough for
Yeah.
everybody, I
If you're
guess.
just creating a promotional video and you need some audio in like the background or whatever, and you don't want to support a human to do that for you, that's the business thing that you're talking about, Peter, right? But I think this what we're doing here, communities creating and sharing music for the joy of it and out of passion. I think that's going to become more and more important.
Exactly. And that's why for groups like us, if you enjoy making the music, then AI is kind of irrelevant. We can use it as a tool and just
It's another instrument.
another
Exactly.
tool
Yep.
in our toolbox.
Well, that's why we're here. That's why Temp exists, actually, right? I actually am not even being that facetious. I always said, like, if we have a community of people creating music for each other, you're kind of getting rid of the middleman. Like, you don't really need, you know, all this processed stuff that gets kind of produced and curated, in the mainstream, basically, right? So I just see lots of pockets and pockets of, you know, um, like authentic groups, but there is going to be like, it's always a debate when a new technology comes into play, albeit maybe not as revolutionary as AI. It always sanctifies the old technology. You know what I mean? So like when color film came out, suddenly black and white became like, oh my God, you're changing cinema, right? When you went from silent cinema to talkies, like there was entire actors that everything they did was like mime and it suddenly changed, right? So, but this is getting to the point where it's like a paradigm shift basically. And intelligence itself, right? I mean, AI is basically, I don't know if it's there now, but it will surpass human intelligence. Um, just a matter of time, and will be becoming, well, the guy who wrote the Unabomber, Industrial Society and Its Future, he made the point, whether you agree with it or not, that humanity will become dependent on technology because the problems we want to solve will be so complex that we will require, technology to solve it. So anyway, it's an interesting vantage point. But take care, guys. Good to see you all, and we'll be here next month. So hope to see you all back, and really appreciate all the good quality discussion and music. It's something that over the years I've become very grateful for. So
Thanks again, Lenny.
Thanks for
take
hosting.
care, guys.
Thanks, Lenny. Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
everybody.
Take care.
Much
Bye-bye.
appreciated.
Take care.